What's up, everybody? It's Soundwave Spectre, and here I am with Overwatch 2, a game that really stumbled out of the gate with tremendous issues at launch. Between a DDoS attack, insane queue times, the prepaid watch point pack not working, people losing their progress, the list goes on. It was an absolute mess at launch. Here at the time of recording, this review, Tuesday, October 11th, 2022, a full week after launch, I can safely say that almost every issue I've had has been resolved. The only two technical issues that I still have personally are minor, and that is the stat tracking not displaying accurate information at all. And the other is kind of a huge issue for me personally, and that's my PlayStation trophies not syncing. Personally, I'm happy that I waited to review this game, as if I released this at launch, it would have been a pretty angry review. Me and my friends were pretty pissed at this game when it first came out. But now, the game has been up and running pretty smoothly, and the queue times are pretty much no longer a thing, only except for after minor maintenance patches and stuff that they've been doing almost every day so far. And I can safely say I'm having a blast. Is it perfect? No, definitely not. Is it worth coming back to if you've played Overwatch years ago? Probably. And is it worth trying if you've never touched Overwatch before? I would say definitely. But let's get into this and see if it's worth your time and money, minus the money, since it's technically free to play. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe if you like the video. And without further ado, let's get into it. So this is my first review in my new review format, and every review I do from now on is going to start with accessibility options first, because let's find out first if this game is even playable to you. And if this is something you don't care about, I got chapters in the descriptions. You can skip right past it. So here are all the video options, and they have an accessibilities tab, so let's click on that. It says camera shake, the HUD shake, reduce the menu movement. There is subtitles for critical gameplay and conversations, or everything. There's color blindness, so here we're going to do the filters right now, so you know if this works for you. You can change the color of the enemy team and the friendly team, along with your group and the pings. And there's also text to speech, so let's turn that on, play a sample.
This is a text to speech sample. This is a text to speech sample. This is a text to speech sample.
And you can change the volume of it.
This is a text to speech sample.
And their speed.
This is a text to speech sample.
Which is nice. Again, for the future, if there's ever a way for me to better showcase to you guys, let me know, because I don't use any of these personally, but I think they're important that people tell them. So here we have the advanced options, which is you change the language, you could change the speaker from Microsoft David to Microsoft Zyra. You could have the voice read system messages, match chat, team chat, group chat, whispers, communication messages, read the current channel when entering chat, add channel name to the message, author information added to speech, play sound between messages being read. These are actually pretty good. I might actually use some of these myself, just so you could read the chat while also focusing on the action there. Of course, they have the usual for PC, the VSync, all the normal settings there, and the key rebinding on PC and on consoles too, which is really great. You could rebind almost every single aspect of the game. So yeah, that's it for the accessibility options. Hope it helped. The next thing you'll only get here on my channel after accessibility is that I acknowledge any potential biases I may have, so you can determine if you're even watching a valid reviewer or not. So at the time of reviewing this game, it says I have 157 hours of gameplay. However, I know this is absolutely false because I used to say 197 hours on my Overwatch 1 account alone, and that was only on one console. So the tracking in this game is way off. Yeah, games. Okay, look. Yo, look.
How does it get 308?
Games won 24. Games lost -17. I think that proves it.
-17.
Interesting.
That proves it.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it def proves that it wasn't a seamless
transition.
Account merge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been playing Overwatch for years since launch, and I even platinumed the game on PlayStation 4. And at least I've played another 30 hours or so on PC. I absolutely loved the game, and you can't platinum Overwatch 1 without absolutely loving the game. That was my crowning video game achievement. The Hanzo trophy to get simple geometry despite every constant nerf that ability gets took me 36 hours. It was a bronze trophy too, that's the worst part. Anyway, unrelated. I absolutely love the game, and this Overwatch 2 is truly more of an update than a proper sequel. And that being said, in Overwatch 2 I probably have around 30 hours of gameplay since its launch last Tuesday. Before this game came out, I have to admit I was very skeptical, and I went into this game with a discerning eye. I wasn't hyped at all, which is surprising since Overwatch held my attention for a significantly longer time than most multiplayer games do. I'm usually a story guy and a co-op guy. Co-op is my favorite way to play video games. So when I found out the co-op was coming much later, I think it's currently listed at 2023, I really wasn't excited. And then with the stumbling out of the gate, I have to say, like, it was looking really bad for my review for Overwatch 2. But I'm pleased to say it's actually been hard for me to write this script, and not because I'm having trouble with this game, or because I hate it, it's because I actually want to keep playing it. Every time I sit down on my computer, I end up playing it again. Which is obviously a great thing. So, gameplay and difficulty here. So first things first, let's dive into the gameplay. And to be frank, it's Overwatch. In case you're unfamiliar, the first game was an incredibly tight character-based PvP game, and so far Overwatch 2 largely feels the same, except for some real crucial changes that, while I don't believe they break the game at all, they certainly hurt it in my opinion. Again, nothing game-breaking, so take it with a grain of salt, but let's break it down a bit. I'm going to be going into this assuming you have a general idea of what a character shooter is. So in my opinion, Overwatch 2 has been my favorite character shooter. To be honest, like, I'm not even the biggest fan of that genre. I normally prefer games with customizable loadouts like Call of Duty, or class-based games like the OG Star Wars Battlefront 2, or ideally, you know, somewhere in between like Battlefield or Star Wars Battlefront 2017 does. Despite this, I personally loved the OG Overwatch, where you could just make wild teams and combos. I personally really did not like role queue, and it still is a thing here.
Did you guys have Overwatch when it first released? Like,
Yeah. I played it day one. He didn't play it for a few years.
yeah, bro.
Yeah, I didn't play it until
Remember?
2018.
You remember one Reinhardt, fucking 5 bastions?
Yeah. No, but I remember having me and my buddy Dan would both be Reinhardt and just have a phalanx. Were the 5 May games of old? Like, I missed that chaos.
Oh, that game, it was so broken.
But like, I enjoyed the jank. I don't know. Is that weird? I thought finding the combos was wild.
If you make a competitive mode, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but I'm saying for quick play, I enjoyed it. So if you're unfamiliar with role queue, this was a change that they implemented sometime in Overwatch 1's life cycle, and it's a system where you would choose whether you would want to be a healer, tank, or damage dealing hero in an attempt to get people to know their role in.
And I quote, "You know your damn role and shut your damn mouth."
I personally never was a fan of this, especially in Overwatch 1, because you can't change roles with people mid-game. And if a teammate is severely underperforming in a role, you can't call audibles and switch with them. I understand role queuing for competitive, but I've never been a fan for it in quick play, especially the last game, where if you wanted to play damage, you'd wait up to 10 to 20 minutes sometimes to find a match. Now that no longer seems to be much of an issue, which is awesome, but I've still had plenty of incidents where a tank will go AFK, they'll quit out, just not perform well, not actually do the job, and overall just be awful and not a team player. And as much as I'd love to switch with them or help them out and help the team, you just can't do it. The game will not allow it. And this leads to another problem that I have, that they removed a tank player from each team. Now Overwatch used to have 2 tanks, 2 damage dealers, 2 healers, against generally the same. Now both sides only get 1 tank hero. And this is something I'm really surprised more people aren't insanely upset about. It's like, imagine you and your boys. You're playing League of Legends, and League of Legends 2 is coming out. They slap a 2 at the end and just say, "Sorry, top lane Timmy, in an effort to make games more competitive and faster moving and aggressive playstyle, we've decided to remove the top lane from the game since it's generally the tankier lane. We want games to be faster and appeal to the esports community." So then you and your 5 friends boot up League of Legends 2, and then you have that weird, awkward conversation with your friend, top lane Timmy, and be, "Sorry Timmy, I know the 5 of us used to play together and have a blast, but now now we have to do 4v4 for some reason, so we don't get to play with you anymore. See ya, bye." It's absurd if you ask me, and I've heard the argument that now damage feels like they do more and the game is much more balanced now. However, I definitely disagree.
I don't know. I feel like with just the hero changes, right? They all just feel so generic now. Like you said, Mei doesn't freeze, Brigitte doesn't have her shield bash stun.
And so exactly that kind of
what's
had
her
to
name
happen.
doesn't.
Based off the 1 tank rule that they made. What I want to do is there's a custom mode, and you could make it 6v6 the way God intended Overwatch to be played. And I want to see if it still works. I don't think it will.
Intended it?
I don't think it'll still work, to be honest, because of the other changes that they've made. It seems like the 2 tanks on each team are just classing against each other, and everyone else is kind of a side character, just supporting the frontline tank. Almost all bits of damage that go to the tank are almost instantly healed if the healers are paying any attention at all. And they pretty much have to focus the healing on the tank because it's such a crucial role, because if the tank goes down, it's just cleanup time for the enemy team. Because of this constant frontline combat, all the tanks are a little bit better, but the ones that seem to have protection for others especially shine. My homie Wrecking Ball is almost completely useless now, as you leave the entire team unprotected to meme.
You use Wrecking Ball as a flank tank.
But you can't do that anymore, because then there's no front line. And
yeah, but even now, he doesn't really have. He doesn't really help the group.
No, and you can't afford to have that with 1 tank.
It requires a certain amount of
situational awareness.
Situational awareness and perception to know
Well, like I said, I feel like they're the team captains and everybody else is a supporting cast now because of the way it's set up. Everything relies on the tank, so therefore the tank is the most important character, which means the tank really ultimately is the one that's got to make all the calls. I feel like you almost have to play someone like Sigma, Reinhardt, or Orisa, as they seem to be the most effective on the counts that they can actually protect their team while doing damage. Winston too, because he flanks, and the flanking heroes seem to be the way to go for all the damage dealers. Reaper, Genji, I can't believe I'm saying this, Echo, Pharah, I see them doing so much better because they're just able to hit the enemy team while the healers are focused and they just come up from behind. The game has moved to a far more aggressive style of play, which again, I'm not vehemently against. I just wish that we could have kept the 6v6. at least as a selectable game mode at the very least. I feel like they could have made the change away from the hunker down that behind shieldy tanks like Reinhardt, Old Orisa, and Sigma, but further by maybe further reducing their shields, or perhaps removing them altogether, like they did for Orisa's rework. I just can't get behind the reasoning of removing players from the game. Now that it's free to play, it should be even easier to get friends to play online, so it's a shame that you can only play with 4 friends outside of customs. And unfortunately, they can't really have removed any other hero type besides the tank, because if they were going to keep it 6v6, they kept one tank with all the changes they made towards balancing and stuff. If they had 3 damage dealers, that would be too much, and 3 healers would cause the same health inflation as 2 tanks. So cutting a tank is really the only change that they could have made to accomplish what they're trying to do. I feel bad for Nairo there, because he plays Mei, right? So he's got 137 hours on Mei, right? And now Mei doesn't even freeze anymore. She just slows, so she's more generic. And I mean, they have to do that because of the one tank change. You can't freeze the one tank to totally break everything. But like, that kind of nerfs her character to oblivion.
Yeah,
Wrecking
I mean,
Ball
they
is totally gone. My boy Wrecking Ball is just, why would you can't play him without destroying your team?
Like, I feel like, so like, I'm not as annoyed about the one tank as most people are. Like, I actually don't mind it.
A bunch of my friends
My
love it.
issue is, no, I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
They all love it because they like just playing for damage, like getting killed.
Well, yeah, they're damage whores.
Yeah.
Like,
again, by no means this is break the game. I just can't help but feel like the tanks are now the team captains, and every other hero feels a little less important, where in Overwatch 1 I felt like every hero had a unique moment to shine in some way.
now it just feels less character-based, more generic shooter, is what this one feels like. This just feels like a fucking shooter.
Yeah, I always felt like, for me, Overwatch...
Whereas, at least in 1, it was... Everyone felt unique.
Yeah.
In their own little
Overwatch
thing.
1 felt like a clash of... I felt like, to me at least, felt like a clash of like comic book characters. All outlandish and wild, and now it just seems tamer.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, playing enough of Overwatch 1, like, everyone felt unique, and... I mean, there's still a degree of that now, but it's less. It's definitely diluted. Like...
Yeah, I mean, Cassie's
it just feels like, okay, all I have to do is stand here and shoot.
Yeah, he's got
like,
and also his little grenade doesn't even take any skill; it homes. Luckily, though, the game does provide a solution. There's open queue and arcade, and I've found that you could personally find games much faster. So I can't prove it, but it does seem like plenty of people agree with me here. The only downside is that the battle pass progression is slower, but that's something we'll get into later. The next thing I want to talk about Overwatch 2 is kind of silly, but it's lonelier. And I want to explain myself here. Somehow, even though it's one player down, I just feel like the game feels lonelier. There's no more medals at the end of the match to compare and contrast how the team has done. And for new players, in Overwatch 1, you would see all your stats at all times when you pause the game. And especially at the end of the game, and each stat was breaking down to no medals, bronze, silver, or gold next to your stat. Bronze meant you were the third best on the team, second best was silver, and first was obviously gold in each respective stat. You used to even be able to vote for the MVP of the game. Now, however, there's nothing of the sort. You get this generic endgame screen, and it seems to rush you quickly to the battle pass progression screen, and there's not even like an after action report that you can pull up to see your stats. If you missed it, you have to actually go digging through menus to see your stats, and you can only see your own personal stats. You can no longer award the game's previous endorsements, which was like shot caller if they were good strategists, they set up good plays, they was friendly if they're just nice people, or sportsmanship. But now, the endorsement is just a general and an uninspired quote-unquote endorsement. They're virtually meaningless, and as far as I can tell so far, they only give you one level of the battle pass if you are a higher enough level, which is at least level 4. Yeah, but see, like I used to like okay, my team sucked. Let me endorse the other team just as an invisible fuck you to the rest of my team. But you know,
Yeah, we don't even get that anymore.
yeah. I hate that there's no end game cards. The end game like lobby is 2
that's
seconds.
fucking. Yeah, that's. I hate that the most. That they took out one. You can't endorse the other team. Like, yo,
It's just the game feels lonelier. Another aspect of loneliness in Overwatch 2 is that there is significantly less all chat. The game now records voice chat, and while on paper that sounds like it's a good thing, it definitely feels as if less people are using the voice chat, at least in the some 30 hours I've played. This is all in the name of player safety, I'm sure, but to be honest, it severely hurts the game considering how much people don't even implement the in-game ping and communication systems that are there. I honestly struggle to get anyone to ping in the game, ever. This is a message to the entire video game population. Apex Legends really changed the game with pinging. Y'all need to start using it more. It's fantastic. You could be social without being social, but I digress. I get people in all chats can be aggressive and toxic, but I always have felt that a little trash talk can be humbling at times. And sure, people can clearly take it too far, but mute and block them and move on. I normally play in a stack of 3 to 4 people I know and friends from my Discord, so if you're looking to play, come and join us, because solo play certainly seems to be a little bit of a drag in the state of things. The game doesn't even indicate how well your other team members are doing by who's on fire. Overwatch has always had a great style in my opinion, and this one does not fail to deliver. The old characters are all here, and if you played the first game, all of your old costumes are still here too. The collection and choice for every character is pretty vast, obviously considering this is their moneymaker, so you get a pretty good ability of making the characters look the way you want, and to be honest, a lot of the new Overwatch 2 designs are actually really nice.
Yo, you know what I just realized too? The Genji skin we've been seeing on the home screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, he's got like cherry blossoms for nipples? Look at that shit. I just noticed that.
That's pretty funny. In terms of character designs, to be honest, I found Kiriko a little bland. Junker Queen a little less Mad Maxi than I would have liked, but her costume has little details that I really enjoy, like the Omnic skull on her knee pad and then the hand around her belt. Pretty cool stuff. Sojourn is nice, but like, damn, those thighs are huge. Overall, though, I like all the new characters, and I do feel like they fit right in, albeit maybe a little bit underwhelming in design. Not everyone can have the grand reveal that is Wrecking Ball. One thing I want to mention also is that the sound design is still very solid and incredibly informative. With the headset, you can hear the footsteps sneaking behind you, and more experienced players can tell exactly who's doing what ability by the voice lines being presented. It's something people might not always take the time to realize and appreciate, but the audio information you get constantly really helps your situational awareness. I appreciate it so much. So besides the new characters, there's new maps and game modes. My new favorite map being Colosseo, and a new favorite game mode being Push. It's a fun back and forth tug of war where a robot pushes a barricade one way based on which team controls it. It feels the most gamey, I think, but it's also just my favorite new addition. And I even like to queue up the Arcade Push, which is a 24/7 playlist with no hero restrictions. It's my favorite way to play the game right now. And this is, I think, where Overwatch truly shines. Being whoever you want to be and doing just silly, wacky combos. I get why people want the game to be fair and balanced. Sure, I'm not saying the game should be totally busted, but nothing beats the chaos of Overwatch of old for me. I personally think games should be about being fun first and balanced second, if that makes any sense. I think Overwatch 1 really had the perfect balance struck, and so far this is the closest I can get to that experience once again. I just wish they make the 6v6 playlist. But again, this brings me back to the whole role queue and meta conversation. Players naturally want to win, so they will flock to what works. Forcing role queue upon players, however, to me, stifles the creativity and prevents trying new potential wild and fun combos. The chase for the cool new combos is always going to be an entertaining aspect of games. Personally, like right now, I love going full Air Force with Echo, Pharah, Mercy, and Kiriko. And I'd love to add like a Winston and Wrecking Ball player to the team, so that we just never touch the ground. Be like the typical Overwatch player and just avoid the objective like the plague. I think that'll be fun. Again, overall, I just feel like right now, arcade is the best way to play Overwatch 2 because that's where the creativity of the character comps really shine. Now for the story, unfortunately the game postponed the co-op story parts. And that was really the whole point of the 2 in Overwatch 2. So like, I'll have to come back and review that when the game drops then, but like, again, feels like they kind of dropped the ball here. They should have just waited. The game does a great job, though, in their defense of giving you a little glimpse into character relations and backstories with some pre-game dialogue that I'm always into. Now, something not everyone cares about, but others care about passionately, is the achievements and trophies. Like I said before, platinuming Overwatch 1 is my crown jewel in video game accomplishments, as they are so hard to get. If I was to rate it out of 10 on the base game's trophy difficulty, it would be like a 9.5, as it's virtually impossible to get some of these without a fully cooperating and communicating team, luck, and a bit of divine intervention. The more we practice, though, the luckier you'll get, and I can tell you it is possible, though if you're like me, I'm hoping for the old trophies to carry over, and they haven't yet. I'm sure this patch will come down the line, however I can safely say I don't have the time and patience to do it again. I'd love it to work, and then I'd try to get that 100% past the platinum, but definitely not spend another 36 hours trying to get the Hanzo ability that's constantly being nerfed to the ground. Now the Battle Pass, and this is the big problem for me. First off, let me tell you, I did buy the Watch Point pack, so I fully acknowledge that I'm part of the problem here, okay? But Battle Passes, in my opinion, are only slightly less scummy than loot boxes. So yeah, they get credit for not imposing gambling mechanics on children that are, you know, supposed to be able to play the game because it's rated accordingly by the ESRB, but not really much. That's not that great of an accomplishment.
You know what's also a little upsetting about this game?
What?
That, like, I feel like the whole game is, like, always based on, like, content or, like, you know, providing something valuable. And, I feel like now it's, like, I don't know. It's just, the whole point of Overwatch originally was, like, we have these players, right? We don't know what to do with them. Let's make a crazy game out of it. And, like, it's all about, like, community and fun and teamwork. Now it's, like, you know, they had the loot boxes, and you could pay for loot boxes if you want. They had them. Now it's, like, here's the battle pass. It's, like, it's a bunch of shit. And we took out a bunch of features that already exist in the game.
In what other world will you pay for something, right, that is time gated that you lose access to, right? So what other DLC out there do you buy? Do you buy an expansion for World of what we think? So World of Warcraft or something. You buy the new expansion, okay? You have access to that expansion forever. They're giving you an item and saying you can borrow this item, and then they take it away unless you beat it all. Like, okay, so you got all your Jurassic World 2 DLCs from CD Keys, right? So, but imagine if Jurassic World Evolution 2 was like, if you don't 100% this DLC in 2 weeks, it's gone. And for some reason, we're cool with that. I don't understand. I mean, I know I'm saying that as before I talked. I already got it. Like, I know I'm part of the problem. But I'm trying to be a streamer. Trying to play the streaming game. Like, it doesn't make sense. The whole concept of Battle Pass is messed up. Now, at least Halo Infinite, you keep it indefinitely, and you would keep working on the game. Sure, you won't have it when the servers go down, whatever. Which is a whole nother aspect. Anything microtransaction is kind of bullshit to me, because when the servers go down, the game is done. Like, you don't have it anymore. Yeah, you have the intrinsic value of playing it when you have it, but like, what other time do you pay for something just to really rent it that much? But look, it's at 79 days. It's at 79 days. So you're still doing the time bullshit. And just battle passes are so disrespectful to your time. Like, they like, yeah, you should reward your most hardcore fan base. I get that. That's totally fair. Totally fair. But I mean, come on. Not everybody has plenty of different games, my dudes. Like, why would you, especially if you have more than one game yourself? Activision is Activision. They're gonna have a Call of Duty Battle Pass in Modern Warfare 2. They're gonna have an Overwatch 2 Battle Pass, both in October. So they're gonna have two Battle Passes coming out in October. That they're gonna be. I'm holding three fingers up because I'm a moron. They're gonna have two Battle Passes in October, competing against themselves. Your player, sure, there's probably not too much overlap between Overwatch and Call of Duty, sure, but there are. I know for myself that's overlap. I'm gonna have both games, and I'm gonna enjoy both games probably, and that is going to be requiring your time for two separate Battle Passes. It's kind of wild. See, by having battle passes, they can trick you into thinking you bought $60 for Overwatch 1 and you got everything, and it was great. And yeah, you didn't get all the skins unless you paid for it, but you kind of could earn them. It was, honestly, you really didn't have to spend a dime to unlock everything. It would just take a lot of time, and the game was fun. So now they could charge you $10, $20, however much the battle pass is going to be, every few months now. So while it's free, in 10 years of this, let's see, the last one was from 2016. So 6 years. If they do Overwatch 2 for 6 years, let's do the math. I'm not good at math, so 6 years. So 6 times 12 divided by 3, that's 24, and we'll say the battle pass costs 10, which is obviously $240, but 240. So that's going to be $240 as opposed to 60, which is what what Overwatch 1 costs you. I'll keep it brief, but Kiriko is locked behind the battle pass at the moment, and if you buy the battle pass, you get her instantly. Otherwise, you'll have to wait till you get to level 55. Now, competitive games have locked her for the first 3 weeks of Overwatch 2 to mitigate this change, and I guess that's to make it a little more fair in the competitive scene and not make it pay to win, I guess. But like, I've had a very light schedule this week, and I've put 30 hours in, and I'm only about Battle Pass level like 30 with the premium boost. So this does in fact kind of implement a pay-to-win mechanic, as much as they say it doesn't. We'll see how this plays out in the future, but I have to say it's something to be mindful and watch with a discerning eye. I could not find the answer at recording this, but what would happen if you don't unlock her in time, but the internet seems to think that there'll be hero challenges in later seasons, and I hope so, but again, this is just something to keep an eye on. I think it's kind of sketchy. But overall, most importantly, is it fun? So I can safely say, despite all the changes and stuff that I've complained about here, the game is currently the only game I've wanted to play all week, non-stop. I have other games I'm trying to finish and review as well, like the Diofield Chronicles, and I just can't seem to tear myself away from Overwatch. My Discord is constantly being, at Overwatch, to the point where finishing this review has been a very difficult struggle. But that's a good sign. All in all, this game was released with the 2 at the end, has me and my friends going, in regards to the wow factor of a new release, but at the same time, we all got the Overwatch needle back in. And the new game modes like Push and the solid new character additions, the rebalancings, I should say that every hero rework that I read prior to launch, I was very upset about, but playing them, they all play extremely well. Final score here. If I would give Overwatch 1 a 9 out of 10, I would have to give Overwatch 2 an 8 out of 10. It's not perfect, and the Battle Pass monetization certainly makes me a little worried about the future, but the game certainly did get a new breath of life in terms of player base and new characters, to say the very least. This game came out of the gate stumbling, but when it works, it certainly does still work, as it's really standing on the shoulders of giants, that is, Overwatch 1. It manages to keep most of the heart of Overwatch 1, and while I do still believe it lost its way a little bit, especially with the monetization scheme and role queues, I'd still have to give it a seal of approval. Out of all the games I've played this year, I'm going to have to give it an A for sure. Now again, it should be noted that this game is free to play, but time is still the most valuable commodity in existence, so it's definitely worth your time. Go check it out. And join the Discord, link in the description, come play with us sometime. Give the video a like while you're down there, and comment below what you thought of Overwatch 2. What changes did you like or dislike? Let me know down below, and be sure to subscribe for the next extensive and honest review here. And at the end of every review, I'm going to give another suggestion of a similar game that you might like, and if you enjoy Overwatch, go check out Paladins. It's another free-to-play game on all consoles. Highly suggest. It's different enough to feel fresh, but also similar enough to feel right at home for Overwatch players. And with the exception of Sony platforms, it does have crossplay and cross-platform and cross-save. Before it was cool, so there's that. Alright guys, well thanks for watching. Again, I'm Soundwave Spectre, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.